Kevin?
No. It's Iowa.
Hey, yo, Ben!
What? Why are you yelling? Jesus.
Am I the meanest? Am I the prettiest? Am I the baddest podcast in mofo low down around this town?
Oh, meanest? Maybe? Prettiest? No. Sorry. You know what, though? You actually might be the baddest podcast in mofo low down around this town.
Who's the master?
The Stain Lane is!
I can't hear you!
You heard me. Anyway, could you teach me some moves on the art of making love?
Nope, because this is the Pot of Dreams, and that's the only master, the Shogun of podcasting, and up next is The Last Dragon.
A martial arts champion in search of the glow.
Master, I need more time.
I am no longer your master.
A rock and roll star on the rise.
I know what it's like to lose precious things.
A madman.
Shogun of Harlem.
A maniac.
You're gonna put my video on your show, aren't you?
The answer is no.
And the glamour, the power, and the sound of Motown.
I don't want you to kill anybody.
Are you out of your mind? The Leroy Green I'm looking for. The little punk thinks he's a kung fu master.
I am no master.
You sure look like a master to me.
This is Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining the Pot of Dreams. This episode is The Last Dragon. It's a special one. Our first guest, I want to introduce my brother, Peter. Pete, thanks for joining the pod. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So you picked this movie, right? We asked you to join the podcast. This is your choice. Why did you pick The Last Dragon?
Well, because number one, it's the best movie ever made. But also it with growing up, it was a movie you and I watched, probably more me, but we watched many, many, many times as kids. So it's just kind of one of those movies that's always kind of stuck with me, and I don't know, it's really good stuff. So
yeah, like my movie taste, like would be so simple if it wasn't for you. Honestly, like you introduced me to so many things. Like I would just watch The Predator and Gladiator over and over again if it weren't for you.
This is sweet, you guys.
This is one of the dumber down. Ben, had you ever seen this movie before?
No, I hadn't seen it. I'd maybe vaguely heard the name before when other friends had talked about movies they remembered fondly, but I knew nothing about it, and I didn't want to know. I just went in totally cold for the first time. And I would say my overwhelming emotion was confusion.
I had a lot of questions this time. So like Pete, like you said, we watched this movie. I've probably seen this movie 20 times, but I was like under 10 the last time I saw this movie. Yeah. And
there was a big gap between probably mid high school, 15-ish, and then till probably well into my 30s that I probably watched it again. But we watched it a ton as kids.
Yeah, it was like we recorded it off of TV on a VHS and just watched it over and over again. So like so this movie was released in 1985. So it's an 80s movie, The Last Dragon. It's actually, isn't it the title Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon? Isn't it?
It is. That was where my confusion started. I was like, Barry Gordy, the Motown guy? What?
Yeah.
You made a movie?
So I just got to ask, so Ben, when Peter said he wanted to do the last, like, did you like Google what the hell is that?
No, it's exciting for me to watch a movie that I know nothing about. It happens, but I'm a pretty big movie geek, and so I've seen a lot and heard of a lot more. So I wanted to genuinely be surprised, and that was one of the fun parts. Is I didn't really know exactly where the movie was going to go or why it was making the choices it made, and that was part of the fun. So I didn't know anything about it. I was confused from the get-go. From when we first started seeing whatever the guy's name, Timok, or whatever the actor's name is, and these loving shots of him working out, I'm like, is this satire? Are we making fun of kung fu movies? Is this unironic? Are we just enjoying his beefy muscles? I didn't have any clue. Didn't know anything about Barry Gordy. I didn't realize he had made a movie in the mid 80s. I guess to showcase music videos, because we get music videos in the middle of this movie inexplicably. Like, I was like, man, what is going on here? Why was this made? And it not in a bad way, but I was genuinely trying to figure out the answer to that question.
Peter, when we asked you to be on this as a guest, did you train? Like, did you have someone shoot arrows at you while you were preparing to podcast? Is that how you got ready for this?
Yeah, that's my weekend activity. Is I just have some random guy in the neighborhood shoot arrows at me.
Just hide from the bushes and blast you with an arrow. Yeah. That seems like a pretty normal thing to do. While
you can only break one. You can only break the blue one. The other ones you have to just swat away, and then you have to catch one.
No, he grabbed the blue one, right?
Blue one, he breaks the other one, then he has to grab. He can't break the blue one.
How did he know it was the blue one?
He knew without knowing.
The glow.
Without the glow. Yeah, but it's so when Eric and I were kids, so the whole kind of backstory is so we had it on VHS, and it was the tape we would watch the tape over and over again. But the funny thing is the Never Ending Story, that was the first movie on the tape.
Oh, that's right.
And so what we would do is, like, on a Saturday morning or whatever, probably me would put the tape in, and we'd watch Never Ending Story, and then I can still picture, like, when the movie ends and he rides off on the dragon and, like, the narrator comes on and then the credits start rolling, because it was on a VHS, then it would get all staticky and then it would hop immediately.
So the TriStar with the flying Pegasus thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love that intro, by the way. I'd not seen that in a long time. Just seeing
that brings you back.
Did bring me back to a different time.
And then Bruce Leroy doing his gyrations and whatnot. But I think at some point I would just fast forward the Never Ending Story to watch The Last Dragon. I don't know. I just have some memory of doing that. Not because I didn't like Never Ending Story, but because I want to watch The Last Dragon so much.
So Ben, you said you were confused. I have a lot of questions too. Like,
well, it's not just plot mechanics though, Eric. It is like the tone is all over the place.
Yeah.
I could not anchor myself down, because there's times where it was so absurd and goofy that it seemed like parody, and there's times it's so serious. There's a scene where the woman who's she's like a Cyndi Lauper knockoff. I don't know what her name is, but that actress turns out is like a Tony Award winning actress, and she's upset with Johnny Arcadia, which is an absurd name, and she's wearing these stupid headlights. And,
Eddie Arcadian.
Eddie,
come on.
oh sorry,
Eddie.
Oh, so sorry. And she has a license plate on her ass that says "Hot for You," and she's giving this serious speech about the horrible things he's doing, and like she's really, really trying. And then it's like, but I can't take that seriously in the context of everything else that's happening. And then at some point it's like, hey, this is just kind of sleek. It's just kind of all over the shop. So I was never kind of on solid footing. And then I couldn't tell. There's a lot of weird racial stuff going on. That was where it was most confusing, because we get a main character who's, and I don't know how to talk about this without evoking stereotypes to talk about it, but you get a main character who's got a kung fu phase and is super into kung fu movies. So he gets made fun of by his little brother, who's also black, and gets called chopsticks and all these other derogatory Asian terms. And we get Asian characters that are
he
like
kind
acting
of
black.
Talks with I think Chinese, right? Because Bruce Lee's Chinese, right? So he talks. He obsessed with Bruce Lee and kung fu, and so he talks with this sort of Chinese affect, which is like odd and weird. And he dresses like he's Chinese, but he's a black guy that lives in Harlem. It's just the question. Those are questions I had. Is like, what is Leroy's like backstory? What's his childhood like? Did he grew? His dad's owns a pizza shop. And
how old is Leroy?
Right. Is he 20? Is he 16? Is his little brother like 12? What's the deal here? What's the family dynamic here? Because they never go to school. But so he just all of a sudden became interested in kung fu, which makes sense. Or he got tied in with the dojo there, and the master kind of took him under his wing. But yeah, you're right. I was just so confused by Leroy and his what his deal is. But there's some sweetness to it too. Like, he's legitimately just trying to figure out how to get to this higher level of martial arts. So
what's his life goal? Just to this Buddhist pursuit of a higher level, and that's it? Getting out of the cycle of samsara? I don't.
But that's Bruce Lee, though, right, Pete? Isn't that's Bruce Lee? All Bruce Lee's movies, he's searching for this higher
Well,
power.
no, Enter the Dragon isn't that way. There's an actual plot to Enter the Dragon, which we see early on. Like, he's busting up a drug ring. Anyway, go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry, I talked over you.
It's more like just that's kind of the philosophy of martial arts is like it's to search within, look for the power within, try to be better, be a better person and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, that was always my kind of take with the movie too, is like, it's kind of out of, so what happens in the movie, like whether he's in school or he's in high school or whatever, like a lot of, I don't know, I kind of look at that's not really important in a sense, because you just have to look at what's in the context of the movie. And so the movie is about his hero's journey, his path. So,
and that's a lovely, serious, like, effort. But then he's told to seek out an Asian person named Some Dumb Guy. Or Some Dumb Goy.
But Pete, you mentioned, like, doesn't the master in the beginning tell him something about what his search is to the next level, and it actually ends up being that, right?
Yeah. So for how many times I've seen this movie, it wasn't until when I watched it last night that I picked this up. So yeah, so his master says in the very beginning, after he catches the blue arrow, that you have, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but like he says, you will have to overcome 3 things, and it's vengeance, fear, and love. And those are all 3 things he wins or accomplishes, I guess, or beats throughout the movie. So like vengeance, to fight back Shogun. Fear, he overcomes the fear of Shogun, and then he finds love. So,
but my question too, like, was the master just fucking with him? So like you said, Ben, he sends him to this fortune cookie place, like on this wild, like none of that. Was it just to like mess with him, or was he really trying to tell him like, you need to just go live, dude? Like, you're obsessing over something that's not there. Like, you're never gonna be like a great martial artist until you realize like you gotta just live your life. That's what I was confused about.
I think what it was is the master no longer could teach him anything. He caught the blue arrow, and like that was the sign that like, okay, there's nothing more I can teach you. And so he comes up with this load of bullshit to basically say, you have to follow your own path and accomplish, I mean, it's kind of how life is. You gotta, win over fear and find love and all that stuff. I don't know. It is just The Last Dragon. I'm probably looking way too much into it.
No, that's fine. I appreciate the stuff hearing what you take away from it. That's interesting. But I mean, there's that serious element to it that's interesting, but then it's mixed with all this goofiness, which makes that path hard for me to like land on. There's just too much weirdness. Like when he has to pretend to be black to a bunch of Asian people who are also pretending to be black and using Asian slang to mess with him. It's like, where are we
man,
at?
what did it look like?
Like, yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm like, what is going on?
And you can't ignore that most of the movie is just advertisement for Motown Records, basically.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, and I don't know. But then we have Eddie. Is it Eddie? I don't want to keep throwing it. Eddie Arcadia. He's the villain, but Arcadia. I can't take him. He just wants to break into the music video business, and he has to get a video on this weekly video show. This
yeah.
But it's like Laura Charles, Ben. Come on, Laura Charles.
and I don't know how, like, and I know how old she is, because like what her relationship with Bruce Leroy. I mean, again, how much older is she than him? And it's consensual, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I just got to jump. We are completely burying the lead because this movie features, I think, the greatest villain in cinema history, and that's Sho'nuff. Like, this dude, when he comes on the scene in that movie theater, like, I wanted to stand up and cheer. Like, this guy is incredible. It makes no sense what he's doing. Like, again, what is this? Who is this guy? Like, what is his deal? He just comes
to movie theaters and annoys people by shouting?
When he walks into the movie theater, he talks like, the Shogun of Harlem's back. Like, where was he?
Yeah, I had the same question. Where'd you go? Where did
I've
you never met
from?
You.
Like, but he just walks in this movie theater and is just like, come fight me. Anybody. Come down. And he just starts beating everybody up. It's so incredible. The Shogun of Harlem.
Like, and even before you get there, they're watching Enter the Dragon, and somebody gets out a boombox, by the way. Some asshole gets out a boombox while a movie's playing and starts to dance in the aisles. And then somebody correctly comes up and just stomps on. This is before Shonuff gets there. What is happening? What is this?
Well, is that Harlem in the 80s? You know, is it, you know?
I have no idea.
They're breakdancing. Like,
I think the whole purpose of that is to establish that guy was like some badass, right? And then Shogun shows up, and what happens? Shogun beats him with one kick to show how powerful Shogun is. That's my whole theory.
So Shogun, he's looking for Bruce Leroy. He's looking for Leroy Green, right? That's his, like, he's walking around Harlem like, where's this Leroy guy? And he finds him at the movie theater, and he gets up in his face, and the catches bullets with his teeth, right? He goes on this whole thing. How does he know Leroy Green can catch bullets with his teeth? Is there, like, a rumor going around the neighborhood that this kung fu master...
Well, he has a dojo, which was interesting to me. He's, I guess, both a student and a master, and that he's teaching... I don't know, he just has that space, right? It's his karate studio where he's teaching people, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, Johnny is like his student, yeah.
Yeah, does he own the place? Does he pay a lease?
Super good question. It's not answered in the movie.
Like, so he's either training or training other people.
Well, I imagine that's the master's dojo, right? Because the master, I mean, he's training at the master's, like, house, I assume, because that's where he's packing up all his stuff. But the dojo, it's a boat?
It's a houseboat, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even
I thought they were
that.
different places. I thought they were.
They are. The dojo and where he's shooting the arrows is the master's. You're saying it's his boat?
I think it's his houseboat, because when that beginning scene ends and the song, like, We Are Dragon, that song kicks in, there's a pan shot of overhead, and you see Leroy get out of that's a houseboat, and, like, on, I think, the Hudson or something like that. But that's, yeah.
And that's why he's going to Miami, because he's taking his houseboat, he's undocking it, and he's just going to,
I think so,
down to Miami. Oh, that makes some sense. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I understand that these are questions. A lot of this is, if I had seen this as a kid, none of this would have mattered to me. I want to make that clear. If I had seen this in 1989 or in 1990, I wouldn't have cared, and this would have just been cool. But these are questions that plague my adult brain the whole time I'm watching this.
Well, and there's a ton of things like that in this movie. For example, the whole how Bruce Leroy even gets involved with Laura Charles at all is just why, because he just happens to be walking past Seventh Heaven.
And he doesn't remember where it is. He has to ask his brother where he was walking.
Or just happens to be walking by. Like, so, I mean, you know.
But that was a plot point that I honestly, like I said, seen this movie 20 times. I didn't remember that it was because he drops the belt buckle thing, that's why he wants to go track her down. It wasn't because he, like, fell in love with her. He just needed what he thought was his, like, master's symbol thing back.
Master tells him it's Bruce Lee's something. Does he say belt?
Medallion. He calls it a medallion, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Shogun thing, like, did he know him? What's like? Is he literally just trying to be the toughest guy in Harlem? That's really it.
Yeah, I got it. I thought it was like the evil woman in Snow White. Like, who's the fairest of them all? Who's the baddest of them all? It was that version of that. I just wanted to know I was the baddest, and there's somebody who might possibly threaten me, and I can't tolerate there's somebody who might be badder than me around. Even though I'm still pretty amazing, you can do awesome stuff.
I can't overstate how much I love Shogun. I mean, that guy, he's my absolute hero.
Shogun is the best. Well, and Ben, there is a line in that theater where I think it's Beats that says that guy is the only one that stands between show and total supremacy.
Total supremacy. Yeah, I love that part. Yep, exactly.
Well, a little bit of exposition gives you tell you everything. I mean,
well, the other thing, like, we're jumping ahead here, but like Eddie Arcadian, who like I hate him in this movie. I always hated him. He's the part of the movie I wish just didn't exist. But like he's gonna pay Shogun a suitcase full of money, which is like there was all stacks of 20s, maybe $100,000, and Shogun doesn't take the money. He does not want the money. He wants to just fight Leroy. And I'm just like, so was this guy just exist in some universe where he doesn't need money, so he's not a criminal? He's
got this cult of people running around doing stuff for him, and I guess he can just break in anywhere and eat pizza and steal stuff if he wants.
And this is the thing I told Pete before we jumped on. That reminded me of the Joker in The Dark Knight. He just burned the money. He didn't want the money, right? He wanted to kill the Batman. And, like, man, that just really hit me with Shogun. It's like, he's kind of the Joker of this movie. He just appears out of nowhere. Doesn't make any sense why he's doing what he's doing. There's no rationale to it. He's just crazy. And he just wants to get Leroy like the Joker just wanted to kill Batman. I don't know. I've made those connections. Eddie Arcadian's basically the Penguin, and Vanity is, basically Vicky Vale. So it's a Batman movie. It's a Batman movie before Batman.
I would agree we needed way more show enough and way less Eddie Arcadian, which could be, not at all. His role in the movie was this weird dramatic arc that didn't make sense. He's this crummy producer, and I don't know if Barry Gordy wanted to slam lame white producers. I don't know if there was that there, which is fine, but his plot didn't make sense. It was too serious, and it wasn't connected with enough other stuff. It was really goofy. He has all these cartoonish villains. I thought it was just like a scene out of Mystery Men where he's having like henchmen show up to like possibly work for him. And so they have weird dudes show up, and then they don't even really utilize the goofiness enough. Like, if you're going to have a bunch of crazy, weird, like, pro wrestling characters, they should get a little bit more standout. And you should just roll with the silliness of that a little bit more. So I'm with you. I mean, Shonuff was way more fun. He was the real villain. Although I was confused, one of the many things confused by, was Bruce Leroy afraid to fight Shonuff? I just thought he didn't want to because he thought it was beneath him. He shouldn't fight. That's not... you don't seek to fight for pride. It's not about pride. So, like, he leaves the theater and he's just kind of bored. He's not scared. He's like, I don't care about this stuff. And then when he's at his dojo, I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to fight because I'll look stupid and pathetic and weak. I've got to just not care about fighting because Bruce Lee wouldn't. But that was what I took watching it. But I think you got a different angle on that, Peter.
No. I think it's both of those things. I think part of it is, yes, that, he's this calm Zen martial artist guy who doesn't believe in violence and fighting or whatever. But I think also the other part of it too is that he is afraid of Shogun, and like that's kind of what happens in the end when he shows up and he's like, Leroy, you warmed up yet? Bruce Leroy is, you can see he's afraid. He's nervous to fight Shogun because he's never faced that level of a threat before. And
okay.
But that's another thing too about watching this movie, and we don't have to segue in this yet, but the fight scenes, right? So as a kid, I always remember the fight scenes being like awesome, and in fact, I remember specifically waiting between the nonsense just for the fight scenes.
Sure. But
as I've gotten older, I've kind of realized that the fight scenes maybe aren't the best, to say the least.
Yeah, but that timeout guy, he's good.
He's a black belt. He can fight, sure.
He's really good, but Shogun, some of the stuff that he does is a little wishy-washy.
Well, Julius Carey, right? That's the guy. They taught him how to do. He wasn't like a martial. He's like a TV actor, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and he maybe was like a dancer or something, or who knows what. Probably athletic when he was younger.
But he isn't supposed to be a martial artist in the movie, right? He doesn't care about kung fu. He calls it he makes some lizard guy, or he makes fun of it. He doesn't care about kung fu. He's just the toughest guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. I mean, they don't really make a point to show that he's this great martial artist like they do with Bruce Leroy. They go way out of their way to show. I mean, obviously, Taimak is super talented. But yeah, that's a good point.
So we talked about Eddie Arcadian. What the hell is that thing in the tank? That was all. I remember
we
as
never
a kid.
See it. You're right. We never get it.
Well, when I was a kid, I always thought it was supposed to be like piranhas.
Sure.
But they specifically say it's one thing. It's not like a whole school of piranhas.
Oh my God,
it's
that's
one
a great
animal,
point.
And it has scales. Or hair almost. You see it the top of it. It's as a kid, I always assumed it was piranhas, but seeing this now, it's it's just supposed to be some monster.
Yeah, it's some aquatic monster. You're right. We don't ever get a payoff. I had totally forgotten.
You never
set it up, and I wonder if that's a production thing. Hey, we just don't have money to create a fake monster thing, or use it, or we just don't know what to do with it, so they just cut it out.
But then I thought of Big Trouble in Little China, which came out around the same time, and that has weird monster stuff to it that's just not explained. There's just like
but
no
you at least
reason.
see the monster. You don't say, hey, there are these weird things, and then you don't ever see them.
Yeah, true.
I don't need to know what it is. I'm fine with us not knowing that it's some creature. We don't need a story about it being from the Amazon and it's some horrible I don't need that. But like, hey, you're talking about whether or not they need it and whether it's useful. We get this whole sequence. I thought I told you to get rid of that thing. You also told me to keep it too, huh? Like, and we get that whole little like exchange, and then we don't get a payoff.
What's the what does Leroy say to him? Cool.
Head needs cool water.
Oh, that's as much of a payoff as you get. Yeah, that's right. He gets his head in there, but doesn't. Yeah, okay.
Or maybe it was like one giant mutated piranha. That's what my imagination told me.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought. I mean, the one time I watched this movie, I thought it was just some big thing.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, you talk about the fight sequences, and I was geared up for a lot of fun at the end of the movie because I loved, as silly as Seventh Heaven is, and the idea that this music venue is super important and it decides the fate of huge chunks of I don't care. In the end, we had those big video monitors. We had all these bad guys showing up. And I really thought, oh, this will be a great spot to do a big set piece at the end. And we started to get it. We got a little bit of that. And then we have to go to a different location to like generic abandoned factory.
Well,
80s setting.
The main set piece fight in Seventh Heaven is that little kid.
Correct. Yeah. Ernie Reyes Jr. Yep.
Yeah. He wasn't like one of the Ninja Turtles too? I remember that as like a fabled thing when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
He's a little pizza delivery guy. Yep.
Yeah.
So Reyes Jr. So if you watch the credits, his dad, Ernie Reyes Sr., he was one of three that did the fight coordination stuff. But yeah, so Ernie Reyes Jr. he's Raphael in the first Ninja Turtle movie. Well, he's the guy in the costume, and then he's Kino in the second one. So.
Yeah, but he's a little kid in this movie, just like beating the crap out of all these adults.
But it's clearly like a showcase for him. Like, knowing that his dad helped do the fight scenes. I mean, kind of through. And like the little kid is charming as can be too. I mean, so. Oh,
he's clearly having fun. There's moments where you look at him on the camera, you're like, that's just like a kid who's like excited to be there and it's just having fun. That definitely came across the screen.
So Pete, you mentioned Vanity, right? She's the main female lead. She's the one that Leroy kind of falls in love with. Like you told me that she had like a Prince connection. I didn't know that. So like what is her connection to Prince?
Yeah, so Vanity. So I don't know a ton of it, but so she apparently was like Prince's first protege. So Prince had like he had his Purple Rain crew or his band or whatever, and I think they were all women,
like Morris Day and all those guys, right? Like, but he had the women in his band that would play. Like the woman that wrote the Purple Rain lick, like this, it wasn't Prince, it was one of the women in his band, right?
Yep. And so Vanity, I think Prince's whole concept was
Sheila E. Sorry to keep interrupting. Sheila E. was in it.
But I think his whole concept was he's going to create like an all-female kind of like a Backstreet Boys or whatever, like an all-female band, and it was going to be headed by Vanity or Laurel Charles. But I don't know what I think it just kind of fell apart or something, or maybe they released an album and it didn't do well, or I don't remember specifically what it was. But she was also in Action Jackson as well. So
I did a minimum of research after because I was fascinated by this, and Vanity apparently was going to be the co-lead in Purple Rain and then left for whatever reason, and then did this movie.
I think she's really good in this movie. I mean, that's fine. That's my like 8-year-old voice talking, I think. But
your inner Bruce Leroy.
Sure. Yeah, I think she's great. I do. The song she sings is so weird. She gets like these weird mannerisms. It's like turning into Thriller for a little bit.
It was bad. That was the worst song in the movie. Was hers? I thought. I was like, the audio's off.
Oh. And the little brother too. Like, again, how old is he? Like, he falls in love with her. That's weird. Get your hands off my woman. Like, who is 10. This little kid?
He could be even 25 for all we know. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like he should be the older brother. Like the way, I don't know. Yeah, it was just very, very weird that your brother was lecturing the older brother on like his sexual prowess and lack thereof. Like this is, I don't know what to make.
Yeah, is he 10? Is he teaching his older brother about sex when he's 10 years old? Like, how much sex does this little kid have? Like, he just smashing ass all over the place? Like, what's going on? Well, so I was going to say, so this movie, they're supposed to have a sequel. And I was telling Peter, I just watched this video with Tamak, how are we saying his name? Tamak? But
Tamak is how I said it, but
Tamak,
I'm not confident that's
so yeah, there was supposed to be a sequel, and I'll post the YouTube video, but he explains, like, flew into Berry Gordy's office, and Berry Gordy wasn't there, and he had some other producer there that wanted to sign him to like a 3-movie deal, and his lawyer didn't think it was great because he wasn't going to get any money on the back end, and so he didn't sign it. And then Berry Gordy just like never spoke to him again, and just he was never in anything else really. Like he had a chance to be, because this movie is a pretty big hit. It cost like $10 million and made like 40 or 50, and it's become kind of a cultural icon. You remember the Busta Rhymes video where he dressed up like Sho'nuff? Maybe you don't. It was in the late 90s, but like, yeah, I mean, this movie is like a culturally significant. We talk about movies that weren't big hits but become cult classics, kind of like Toxic Avenger. This is kind of in that wheelhouse. I mean, more important, I guess, to our household than others, but that he turned it down and they didn't make it. Just like this guy had no career after that, like nothing.
This is just from Wikipedia, but I think Wikipedia says Gordy sold Motown Records to MCA in 1986. So I wonder if that to do with it. Like he maybe wasn't that he didn't want to make it, but just was already planning to sell his share.
Okay, so Pete, like this movie means a lot to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I was saying earlier. I mean, so this isn't a movie like I watch every year or something like that. But I mean, when I watched it just recently, like, I mean, it's a silly movie. I mean, it really is, and it is kind of all over the place, but it's just one of those, sure everyone kind of has that to some extent. Like there's this kind of pop culture or media or whatever it may be that, like you experience and it just kind of hits you in the right spot. And this movie is that to me. Like, more so than a lot of other movies, or maybe any movie I can think of. I mean, it's clearly flawed. I mean, quite a bit flawed movie, but it's just, it's like even the music and the actors and everything. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just it's like a warm blanket, I guess.
There is kind of
I get that
earnestness to it.
Not about this movie for me, but I understand that.
But yeah, I mean, it's not trying to be.
Is incredibly earnest.
He's earnest, and he cries in one scene.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. When the pizza shop gets all busted up, right?
Yeah.
Like he, you know what I mean? He's yells at him, and he's a coward and all that stuff. Yeah.
And it's not trying to be funny.
I like the idea of him being earnest. I guess I think it is though. That's the part where it gets weird. Parts of it are.
But like the guys at
if he were just straight up earnest in a really cynical, dark world, that would work better, I think. But that's me. Sorry, Eric.
No, I was just gonna say that the guys at the fortune cookie place, like that's like when they're lip syncing, like I find that so charming and funny, and Sho'nuff, like I just enjoy every scene he's in. But yeah, I think the parts with Leroy and his family, like he's really trying to find love and fit. Like he's awkward, obviously, with girls, and like there's kind of a sweetness to that watching this time I found like really charming in a way that like it's a stupid sort of like faux kung fu movie with these like weird. I mean, he does literally catch a bullet with his teeth, like that actually happens in the movie, and he has this glow where he turns into like the Street Fighter, and I mean there's some weird shit
he
in
goes
it.
Super Saiyan, yeah,
it's Dragon Ball Z, but like then there is this kind of sweetness to it that I was kind of touched by a little bit watching it this time.
Yeah, I mean, like it has kind of those themes, like believing in yourself, and don't have doubt in your, believe in yourself, don't doubt yourself, and there's the community aspect of the movie too, like the whole thing with his dad's trying to, have a pizzeria, what does he say? He's like, they gave him a crap, a black man opened up a pizzeria in Harlem, like, so I don't know, it's just there's that kind of
pizza to Daddy Green's pizza. Yeah.
If you
All right, so I guess we'll shift gears over to the Letterboxd Roger Ebert ratings. Pete, since you're the guest, do you want to jump in and give us what your rating is out of 5 stars?
Well, so obviously I'm going to say 5 stars because I do love this movie very much, and like I said, it's one of those movies that I could probably watch. I can watch over and over and over and over again.
You own it, right? You own the Blu-ray, right?
You know what I mean? No, I actually own the DVD. I don't. It's not on Blu-ray.
Oh, they don't have 4K Last Dragon yet?
But I mean, there's no 4K. I'm going to email Barry Gordy and see if he can get on that. Get the remaster, the Criterion Collection. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's movies that are just excellent. Like, Seven Samurai. You guys did Raging Bull. I mean, these movies are just, flawless almost, And but like The Last Dragon to me is just this. There is this kind of perfection to it. Well, it's not perfect at all. Anyways, that's a long drawn out explanation for 5 stars, I guess, or 10. I don't know.
We'll give you 10. We'll give you 10 as the guest. Would you have it, Ben?
As the younger Lane, you want to go next? Oh, you want me to go next?
Oh, right. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you go.
I realize this is one of your guys' childhood babies. I understand, and I get the There's all sorts of actual research on how music can hit you and what'll how old you are, and music hits you different when you're younger, and movies and all that stuff can resonate on a deep level. And we could do this with a bunch of movies where Ninja Turtles 2, that's a movie I could watch and I would be really nostalgic and probably happy to watch, even though it's almost certainly objectively terrible. But I think I missed the boat on The Last Dragon is the problem here. I didn't see it when I was a kid. It didn't nestle into my subconscious. And I was at an age for it to really land at me. So I'm coming at this with adult eyes, and there's just no way to have that Peter and Eric Lane experience of being like, oh man, watching this over and over again. This is the coolest. It's my brain's seen too many John Wicks. It's seen too many other kung fu movies. It's seen too many other serious movies. It's seen Enter the Dragon, and it's just tough to compare that to all those. So for me, it just I couldn't get oriented. We weren't in satire. We weren't making fun of kung fu movies. I think we wanted to make an earnest kung fu movie, but there's too much other gunk grafted on, including like 3 music videos in the middle of the movie. Weird racial stuff. I couldn't tell. Is this racist? Is this deconstructing race? I couldn't really tell. I was kind of all over the place. I appreciated the weird choices it made. I really did. But for me, it was 2.5. I wasn't bored, but it never, ever hooked me. And again, that's with the caveat that, I would have loved this in 1990 or 91.
That's funny. So
Ben, I'm gonna have to unsubscribe from this podcast. Then I think that's
fair enough. I got to be honest. I don't want to. Can't pander too hard.
But you mentioned the racial stuff. It's kind of funny.
That's
so I was just googling through on Wikipedia. There's a note here. It's a paper from the Journal of Asian American Studies that applauds the strong character development of a black hero who reverses the stereotype of a typical Asian in an action film. And so they're like this. There's like a paper that really gives this movie a lot of credit. So I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I felt like there were some racial stereotypes in this movie that made me feel really uncomfortable. But
you could convince me either way is the thing. I could listen to one of those and be convinced, and you could also say this is horribly racist. Either way, you could probably convince me by either one of those positions because I was really confused.
So can I go on a big segue real quick about that, about the racial stuff?
Sure.
So
are you going to reference Joe Rogan?
I had no, not Joe Rogan, but I wish I had a joke about Joe Rogan. I don't have one. I did I don't know. Joe Rogan was on news radio and he sucks. I don't know.
Oh wow.
So just a little bit ago, I rewatched Big Trouble in Little China, which you brought up, I think, Eric. But we watched it with some friends who had never seen it, and his reaction after the movie was that, that's terribly racist and all these racial, Asian stereotypes and blah 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 blah, right? And my argument against that was well, no, it's the movie is not. It's not showing stereotypes. The heroes of that movie are the Asian characters. I know the movie kind of follows, what's his name?
Jack Burton.
Kurt Russell. Jack Burton. Old Jack Burton. Yeah.
That's Kurt Russell's character. Yeah, he's a bumbling idiot. Yeah, he's a dope.
exactly. He's an idiot throughout the whole movie. Like he's you, he's me, he's the audience. And like the heroes of that movie are all the Asian characters. And I don't know, I mean, that's kind of how, a little bit like how The Last Dragon is. It has kind of these little, kind of stereotypes sprinkled throughout. But really, like, what the movie is about is like a strong black, hero character, which really didn't exist very much, if really at all.
And that's interesting. So it's directed by a black man, and Taimak, I know I'm just murdering his name, but like he when he wasn't in the Last Dragon sequels, there was like nothing else for this guy to do, because there weren't like black lead action stars. I mean, there's like you could name like 3 of them through the 80s and 90s. There's not a lot.
There was
I mean, it's interesting.
Well, to kind of go back to some is like it wasn't until Will Smith really where like strong male black actors could kind of become or have these roles where they have these big roles where they play the hero.
So. Well, yeah, I mean, we started. It's way too few, but I mean, we had Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop around this time coming on, and Wesley Snipes was coming on. But yeah, there weren't a ton. There still aren't a ton. But
like I said, I think he's great.
That door was barely open to anybody.
I think he's great in this movie, and it's shocking that he had no other like really movie star roles. I mean, it's crazy. It's like he reminds me a lot of Brandon Lee, actually. Like Brandon Lee came up, Brandon Lee had there was something funny about him, charming. And, Brandon Lee was going to be the biggest star in the world until he died. But this guy didn't have those opportunities.
And it's funny that you bring that up, Eric. Yeah. So like that Taimak guy, I did the same thing. But I mean, you may not remember this, but the only other thing I remember him being in after, being a fan of The Last Dragon was I think it was in the late 90s, but it was a TV show called WMAC Masters. Do you remember that at all?
It was like American Gladiators show. It was like American Gladiators, right? Wasn't it?
But yeah, it was like American Gladiators and like pro wrestling, but all just martial arts. It was like a live action Mortal Kombat without the fatalities. But he was on that show for like one episode.
Interesting.
That's all I got. But
I guess it was on me. So I gave it 4 stars. And like you said, Ben, it's hard for me to separate this from like my 8-year-old self and my adult self. Like I just
and that's fine. I'm finishing what you enjoy.
Finishing lines in the movie. Opinion. I can't separate those things. And just like I said, watching this movie as a kid, it was just. But watching this time now, it was like I watched it on Tubi, the streaming service, so I didn't have to pay for the movie. If anybody out there wants to watch it on Tubi. But
I think it's going away at the end of March. So
is it really? Oh wow,
they're gonna not. By the time they hear this, they're not gonna be able to watch it on Tubi. But
does Tubi have commercials? Were there commercials?
Yeah,
yes,
not a lot though.
Their brother does this a lot. It wasn't as bad because I don't think the movie's that popular.
Sure.
Relative to some other ones, I noticed that too. It was not as bad as other ones.
We got to get it trending so the Criterion picks it up.
There you go. Yeah. But I've watched a movie on Tubi or something before, and it was like super jarring because the commercial would like cut. Like it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like back in the day when you watched movies on TV, they would really make a point to like, all right, here's where we're going to go to the commercial. So it didn't, long story short, it was just super jarring when they would.
Yeah, it's like mid-scene,
like
they'll pop a commercial.
You're right.
There,
If you build, you will come.
All right, so we'll shift over to the 5 Degrees Field of Dreams. Our trademark here on the Pot of Dreams. So this is if you're first time listening to it, Pete. I'm sure you listen to all of our episodes, so you know how this works. To connect this movie over to the Field of Dreams. Again, as the guest, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. So how do I do Field of Dreams first or last?
Start with the Last Dragon.
Last.
Okay. Yeah. So all right, so Last Dragon, which stars Ernie Reyes Jr. And Ernie Reyes Jr. is in Red Sonja, which stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is in The Terminator, who also is Lance Harkison is also in The Terminator, who's in No Escape with Ray Liotta, who is in Field of Dreams.
There it is.
Nice. I can tell by your speechlessness that you are completely amazed how I made the Ernie Reyes Jr.
Well, I don't think we've talked about any of those movies before. So nice work.
Yeah, no, I was excited when you. Well, so I'll just hop into mine. So I also did Ernie Reyes Jr. was also my out. I didn't do Red Sonja though. I did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, because that was a movie I unironically liked. Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go. With
That's the
Vanilla
Vanilla
Ice.
Ice one, right?
Yeah, yes, I genuinely liked it. I wasn't being ironic. I just
dude,
thought
I
thought
bet we saw
song
that movie
kicked.
in the theater like 5 times.
I did. I loved the
Yeah.
Pizza Hut promotion. I thought that I didn't care about the shameless capital. I was just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I loved it.
Ninja Turtles weapons at all in the whole movie? Not once. Remember that? Michelangelo never nunchucks. Anyway, sorry. That's.
And the second one, I don't remember that. I just remember all the corny lines.
Yeah, man. He never uses. Michelangelo uses a pair of sausages in the very beginning of the movie to make some comedic blah blah blah. But yeah,
that's some bullshit.
It is some bullshit. Don't watch the movie. It ruins your childhood. I'm telling you. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm okay with ruining my childhood.
Next week, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
But also in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze is David Warner. He's the scientist that makes the ooze or runs the ooze factory. He's in my all-time favorite Star Trek movie, Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. He plays a Klingon in there. I was desperately trying to figure out a way to work Christopher Plummer from there, but I couldn't. So I ended up going with Christian Slater, who's in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, who's the star of Field of Dreams.
Is that Star Trek? Is that the one with the whales? I never remember.
No, that's 4. That's the Voyage Home, which is not my favorite. Star Trek 6 is it's 91. It's the Cold War has ended, and I don't know. It's got Kim Cattrall in it. It's got a whole bunch of stars relative to Star Trek in it.
Is that the one where it opens where Kirk is climbing a mountain and he falls?
Yep. And Spock's like, "Why are you climbing a mountain? You have these boots that'll get you to the top. What are you doing? This is pointless." Yep, that's the very one.
I saw that in the theater.
Well, I'm jealous. I never saw it in the theater. It's too young, but it's my favorite one. It works on about 8,000 different levels. But this isn't the Star Trek 6 podcast.
Yeah, because Star Trek sucks, and you guys should stop talking about it. That's my take.
You're wrong.
Oh, man, that's personal. I was going to say, sorry, this is totally unrelated, so now I'm going to do a little sidebar. The Last Dragon helped me solve a lyrics riddle that has puzzled me for a long time. Like, not overtly. You hear a line in a song, it doesn't quite make sense, and you just try to make it work, but you don't get it. So in LMFAO's song Sexy and I Know It, one of the lyrics is, like Bruce Leroy, I got the glow. I didn't know that before I watched The Last Dragon and then read the Wikipedia. And I was like, oh. So I thought it was Bruce Lee, and he was saying Bruce Lee weirdly. But it's Bruce Leroy, I got the glow. So anyway, that mystery solved. Eric,
excellent.
Field of Dreams.
You guys failed to use 2 fairly big stars or celebrity actors in this movie in your Pod of Dreams, Field of Dreams.
I didn't want to use William H. Macy.
William H. Macy, he's got a couple lines in the movie. Is he the producer or the hairdresser? I can't remember.
He's the producer. The hairdresser is the guy who's annoyed that he can't fix her hair all the time.
He's trying to get her to agree to Eddie Arcadia, right?
Just to have lunch with him, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, come on, this guy's a real heavy,
This video game magnate. He's a big heavy. Yeah.
So you could use William H. Macy, and he's obviously been in a ton of movies. It won an Oscar, didn't he? Maybe not. I don't know. But I chose another great actor, longtime big name actor. Chaz Palminteri is in this movie. He plays the limo driver that when they sort of kidnap Laura Charles, he's the guy that's like, oh, the other guy's sick. And then,
sorry, yeah, you brought up that scene annoyed me because they've got her in the limo and they pull her out just so that they can have a fight.
Yeah, why did they take her out of the limo?
There's no reason. They just didn't choreograph that well.
They should have driven her to where they were going. Yeah.
Correct. Yes, but we needed Bruce Leroy. Sorry. Yes, that was. It's like, wait, you had her in the limo. Just drive. Just lock it and drive. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So he's in this movie. We were talking earlier. I think it's his first or second movie he was ever in. But just kind of that bit cameo. He's also in a movie called Pool Hall Junkies. Ben, do you know this movie, Pool Hall Junkies?
No.
This was like a early 2000s big movie for people my age or people I was hanging around with. It's like a pool movie. It's got a like fake Ben Affleck guy in it. It's like it's basically Rounders but with pool. It's literally like the same movie. And guys we hung out with seemed to always watch that. That and Boondock Saints were two of those movies like our generation. They loved it.
That makes a lot of sense,
Yep.
Eric. Holy cow. I know you just that much better now.
I didn't like these movies. These are not movies I chose to watch. Just people we hung out with seemed to always have them on.
Listen to him. He loved both those movies so much. So much.
Not true. But
I'm kidding.
So Chaz Palminteri's in that. So is Christopher Walken. Ben, you got a good Christopher Walken impression? I think you got a good one, right? Don't you?
I don't. I'll try, but it's not good. You got to do just weird pauses that are it's very tough to do. Eric, how you do? You got to do weird pauses.
He had it up his ass. I don't know. That's pretty bad.
That's a famous line, but yeah, the cadence was off. Mine was terrible too. I mean, I'm not really judging harshly. It's just a weird cadence to do. Anyway, but okay, Christopher Walken.
He's also in a movie called Catch Me If You Can. Pretty great Spielberg movie. Also starring in that movie is Amy Adams. Big fan of Amy Adams. She's in Man of Steel, which is a Superman movie. Zack Snyder Superman movie. And Kevin Costner's in that as well. He plays Superman's dad, Kent, and Jonathan Kent, and he's in Field of Dreams. So that's how I did it. Okay. Any closing words on The Last Dragon, Pete? We'll let you filibuster here if you want.
Well, I think this is a movie everyone should watch. It is far from perfect, but I think it definitely has a very special place in the pop culture nebula that exists. And yeah, I mean, I just really enjoy this movie a lot. And yeah. I don't know. It's good stuff, man.
All right. Kiss my Converse. Ben, what movie are we watching next?
Eric, in my dark, vile heart, I have this desire someday to force you to watch a musical.
Oh, God.
But today is not that day.
Today is not that day. I gotta know.
I've got lots of choices. I'm not gonna reveal. I
watched a lot of West Side Story, by the way. The Oscar nominee. I watched.
It's not gonna be West Side Story. I promise you. But anyway, today is not that day. I don't want Eric to have any warning time. He's gonna be blindsided someday. He's just gonna not check both ways before he goes through a 4-way stop, and he's gonna get pummeled.
T-bone. I'm gonna hit T-bone by freaking Cabaret or some shit.
Eric's gonna be stuck on the music. What's happening?
Oh my gosh, there are so many great choices, but today we haven't done any documentaries left, and I want to do a movie by my favorite documentarian of all time, Errol Morris. And no, we're not doing that one, Eric. And I know there's a movie, I love, my favorite movie of all time. We're not doing that one. We're going to do a movie from 2012 called Tabloid.
Okay. I have never seen it. We'll do a documentary on the Pot of Dreams.
Ben, what's the one that you said you have a favorite of his? Which is that one?
Gates of Heaven. Early on when I met your brother, it's this documentary about pet cemeteries from 1978, which to me perfectly describes the human condition. You watch it. If an alien asked me what are humans all about, I'd show them this, and it wouldn't help, but I'd be like, that's it. I couldn't put This Is Humanity in an hour and a half.
I think you said that's your favorite film of all time, right?
Yeah. That's a movie I've seen 4 times, and it's a movie I think about, and it makes me sad, happy, depressed, angry, joyful, all at once. Humans are stupid, wonderful, amazing, awful. It's everything. It's great.
Yeah, isn't it like didn't Ebert just like beam about this movie?
That's how I watched it. I went through and watched all of Ebert's great movies, and that was on the list.
Yeah.
That was exactly how I came to it. It's like, oh man, I get it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Cool.
Well, Pete, thanks for being our first guest on the Pod of Dreams. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and go see The Last Dragon if you haven't yet.
Showing up.
Nope. All right, stay frosty, everybody.
All right, thanks guys for having me.